My name is Jerome and I identify myself as an African American homosexual male living in Baltimore County, Maryland of the United States of America. I'm 46 and I've been HIV positive, diagnosed since 2009, July 31st. However, I know that I was infected several years before while living in Los Angeles. I learned of HIV back when I was a teenager in the mid-'80s, as I have an uncle who unfortunately succumbed to this disease back in 1993. His name was Tracy, and he became infected in, I believe it was like 1987 or 88. And I remember one point visiting him overnight, and I was at that awkward stage of being 15, 16, and I needed to shave while I was at his home. And he told me where the shavers were, but then he ran into the bathroom and adamantly forbade me from using any of the shavers that were already sitting on the counter. He went and got me a brand new one. And I didn't understand why at that moment in time. It wasn't until later on that when he disclosed the fact that he was in fact positive, that it all made sense. And then I became hyper paranoid about potentially having been infected through some, crazy force of nature, given our closeness, the fact that we used to share clothing and stuff like that. But that, of course, we came to learn was a really, really silly and asinine way to think, because you can't get HIV by sitting in the same room or wearing each other's sweater. I myself became exposed many years later. I went to, after graduate school, I ended up moving to Los Angeles, California, because I got a graduate degree in production, television production. I wanted to work in reality television. And so I went to Los Angeles to make the dream come true. Got involved working on shows like The Real World and Road Rules, Big Brother, the first season. And I, being a gay man, being a gay man, I obviously was young and vibrant, and I thought, with it. So I went out and met a bunch of folks and got involved in relationships. And I was always careful. I always bought condoms, and I bought the spermicidal lubrication, all that good stuff. However, I got involved with an individual who, unbeknownst to me, was hiding an addiction to crystal methamphetamines, and he was an intravenous crystal meth user. I discovered an index card box filled with insulin needles, what I thought were insulin needles, and what he told me were his insulin needles, because then he said, oh, I'm diabetic. But having a mother and a grandfather who are diabetic, I knew that they never kept their discarded needles in an old index card box. So that was really strange. And unfortunately, one night during an intense sexual encounter with him, I ended up running my hands under the pillows towards the head of our bed, and I pulled back suddenly because I had a sharp pain, and there in the middle of the palm of my hand was the needle from one of his used needles. And once that happened, he then told me that he was positive himself. And I went through a long period of denial. I, cleaned the area with alcohol and, took some aspirin, and just figured it would be okay, and I would be okay. And that was in 2001. Obviously, things happened, illnesses occurred so frequently as the years progressed that it became apparent to me that little prick meant something. And I mean that with all pun intended. And so on July 31st of 2009, I was officially diagnosed with being HIV positive with only 4 T cells. My immune system was completely shattered and destroyed. The normal, healthy man or woman's T cell count usually is somewhere between, say, 800 and 11 to 1400. And that's just so that you can combat the daily colds and any other pathogens that you might encounter in your day-to-day life. With only 4 T cells, I was completely at risk for exposure to the common cold. I mean, a common cold could have killed me. A bee sting could have killed me. It was really bad. And so when they found this out, I immediately had to go on what they call prophylaxis antibiotics, which is precautionary antibiotics to ward off potential pathogens while my immune system got a chance to build. And that was only going to happen upon the introduction of my retroviral medication therapy, or as they used to call it, the cocktail. When I was officially diagnosed, I was an IT professional working for Lockheed Martin Corporation here in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was devastated. I thought it was over because I had witnessed firsthand what HIV/AIDS can do to an individual vis-a-vis my uncle. And I basically went into a cocoon. I isolated. Fortunately, I worked in an IT company where I was able to telecommute. And it's funny because my manager at the time, I told her what was going on. She seemed very accommodating and willing to work with me, allowing me to work from home and all. But as it turned out, she was just really afraid herself, and she was happy not to have me there, as was made apparent when I did finally return to work a couple of weeks later. And I learned that she pulled me and the rest of the members of my team into her office to reveal that she had created a in-office first aid unit in her bottom drawer, complete with latex gloves, alcohol prep pads, betadine, iodine, alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, cotton balls, band-aids, and all of the such. And without saying that it was for me, she made it very clear that there were folks working on the team at a diminished capacity. So she really pushed the line for as far as HIPAA laws are concerned, and she ended up crossing that line and disclosed to some people. And there was some discriminatory situations that I unfortunately had to endure prior to my separation from Lockheed Martin. So it wasn't easy. It sucked. I have accepted the fact that I am HIV positive. I don't like it. I understand why. I know that I lived a life that put me at a higher risk, and I understand all of that. What is difficult is all of the things that they don't tell you that comes along with it. Like when you open a magazine and you see the ad for Truvada or Triumec or any of the other wonderful combination drugs that they have. Just take this one pill a day and there's this guy hiking the mountain and he's sunshiny and bright and beautiful. Well, they don't tell you that along with that comes diarrhea, insomnia, wasting, rapid weight loss and gain, lethargy, fatigue, dry, cracked skin, And then worst of all, degradation to your other vital organs. I've had more difficulty with my liver and kidneys and kidney function specifically as it relates to the medication that I'm taking. My HIV is well maintained and under control. I have been undetectable with a viral load of less than 15 for more than 5-6 years. I have a T cell count well into the mid 600s. So coming from 4 to the mid 6s since 2013 basically is amazing. But the side effects are the hardest part, and the depression. I didn't anticipate the amount of abject loneliness that I would feel, feeling like I'm used, I'm damaged, that I'm unworthy of love and affection. I know that today not to be the case, but sometimes it's still really hard to reconcile that.